This is Ask the Therapist, the show that answers any and all of your questions about mental health and therapy. I'm Dr. Jim Julian, and tonight we have popular chiropractor from Wolcott, Dr. Matt Cucolo, with us as a special guest. But before we get to Matt, I'd like to introduce my co-host, the debonair, Dr. George Hadjar. George, what's cooking?
Thank you for the introduction. We're glad to be here again and to have our guest speaker.
Thank you. First, I want to thank both these guys for having me on here tonight. It's an honor and a pleasure. My name is Dr. Matt Cucolo. I've been a chiropractor in Wolcott for almost 7 years now. I'm a chiropractor. I'm an acupuncturist. I specialize in whole food nutrition, herbal therapy. My real passion is helping the kids with combating anti-drug awareness and spreading the education and the message out there to them. I've been blessed. We have a great superintendent in Wolcott, Joe McCary, who gave us the kind of a green light to start teaching the kids in the high school, and the program has been an absolute success. Once we were in the high school, we learned that the problem really is actually starting earlier, so then we started addressing that by teaching in the middle school, which was really a blessing. Those kids are a lot of fun, and we teach them all different drug types and what to look out for. And the first statement I would want to tell anyone out there is addiction does not discriminate. It could happen to anyone out there at any given time in their life, and I think that's an important point.
Good point.
The other point is, the stigma where we look at addicts differently. Listen, this is a brother out there, this is someone's mother, this is someone's father, cousin, friend, okay? And it can happen really easily now, especially with these powerful different types of pain medications that are out there. Kids could get really addicted, or anybody could get really addicted really fast, and it could amplify rapidly. So one of the things we teach the kids in the school is, hey, look out for one another. If you see, somebody screwing around or messing up and doing something they shouldn't, call them out. A real friend's going to look out for you, and they're going to tell you where you're going wrong, and they want to get you straightened out fast, because this problem could take off really quick. So doing that has really opened a lot of eyes, I feel, in our community. I'll plug right now, next week, March 21st, 6 to 8 p.m. at Wolcott High School. We have an anti-drug awareness rally there. Everyone's free to attend. Please come down.
Excellent.
We have a great program ahead. So that's what we're doing in Wolcott, in the Wolcott area. And I hope to expand that to surrounding towns, surrounding schools, because it's really a problem everywhere. It's ubiquitous. Everyone's suffering from it, and we need to get the strong message out there. So,
Matt, how early should parents sit their kids down and have a talk with them about drugs?
It's a great question. I think the real answer is ask often, ask early. We did an asset study group in Wolcott and surrounding towns, and what we noticed is, about 70% of the kids realize they have an adult in their life who show up, say, to one of their sporting events or their cheerleading. But then when the kids were asked, how do you feel communicating with your parents, only 34% felt like they had either a parent or someone, some adult in their life where they felt comfortable with. So basically what we're saying is they're showing up to the games, but they don't know how to have a conversation with at the dinner table. And, we're getting the kids involved to get their parents involved, to get more involved in their lives, but that's what we want to do. We want to ask often, ask early. I think a good conversation should start somewhere in middle school with the kids. I know they get some communities get DARE in 5th grade, which is great, and I think they need that. But with the parents, I think they just need to stop hiding their head in the sand.
Yeah, there are times that some parents and the children don't communicate, and when we see the children or parents in therapy, especially if we separate them, the adolescent or child will come out with something that the parent didn't know, and that could be a breakthrough in therapy. So that's what therapy is good for, but you almost wish it happened before therapy. And it's a little tricky in our position, in our job, because the parents' rights are very strong, and you have to respect that and honor that. So if the child's a minor, they have to know what their child is telling you, the therapist. So what we do is we try to encourage the child or adolescent to tell the parent. That's a little tricky because sometimes the child or adolescent won't divulge to you if they know you're going to tell the parent. But we work through that. We might put a delay on it. If it's not life-threatening, we might say to the adolescent, okay, I'm going to encourage you in a couple of sessions to tell your parents. And they do, and it's normally a breakthrough. But it's like the doctor said, we're surprised that the parents, didn't know that, but that's pretty common.
What effects can the drugs do on the brain? Well, the problem with most addiction is there's this substance called dopamine, which is in your brain, and when anyone uses a certain drug, dopamine gets this big rush, and that dopamine feeling can be very addictive, and it can happen very quickly. It could happen just the first time they try a substance, which is why we want to, get them to never even start. But let's say they do start and they get this dopamine release in the brain. What that does is it throws off not only their brain chemistry, but also their whole endocrine system, which is their hormonal system. And often it ends up goofing up their blood sugar as well. I think we lost the caller, but they could listen on. It throws off their blood sugar as well. There's an old saying, a carboholic, an alcoholic, a sugarholic, they're all the same type of people. Well, when they start using substances and get abused to substances, we have to retrain the brain. We use that in our office with whole foods and herbs. We use some herbs called, in whole foods called Neuroplex and Neurotrophin PMG to repair the nerve, to change the message that's being sent out there. One of the things I'd be remiss to tell the audience here is we use a lot of acupuncture, which the results have been fantastic. We've treated a lot of recovering addicts with acupuncture to calm their brains, and that's worked out quite wonderful. And and dietary changes are a must. We go that route with them and really get them back to eating real
and
food.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Doctor. I think I got another call,
Sure.
so I'd like to...
Matt, you're really rolling these calls in.
Yeah, that's all right.
Hello, this is Ask the Therapist. You're on the air.
Hi, yes, I have a question for the chiropractor, Dr. Matt.
Yeah.
Our question is, with being an acupuncturist with the dopamine in the brain, you could, isn't there punctuists you could do with that will release the same chemical without doing the drug? I was just wondering that. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. The question was if you can you use acupuncture to release some of the same dopamine? Well, what it is it's endorphins. Endorphins help your body to feel good. You get that same release with exercise after you get on a treadmill or lift some weights. I often use in acupuncture certain points around the brain. We call them yin tang and do 20 and all these cool points that could release the same amount of natural endorphins. And studies have shown that this is a very natural way to let people to feel good. We help people with anxiety, depression, nervousness, irritability. In fact, I did a couple of needles before I came on the show, so I'd be nice and relaxed. But it works really well, and you can get the same effects without having to use any medication to do that. So, great question. Thank you, caller.
Let me ask you a question, Matt.
Yeah.
Is just say no too simplistic? Nancy Reagan said 30 years ago, just say no to drugs. And I really believe in that because once, like you said, Matt, once they start doing drugs, it changes your brain chemistry, and you may crave that drug for the rest of your life. Is it too simplistic to tell the kids, just say no?
That's one of the exercises, believe it or not, I work on with the kids in the high school. I literally walk up to them, I'm like, here you go, take this beer, take it, and I literally wait till they say no. And then sometimes when their boyfriend or their girlfriend's with them, I say, hey, why don't you look out for them and stick up for them if they couldn't do it. It's such a simplistic term. Nancy Reagan really had it right with just say no.
Many of you may be thinking, well, drugs don't concern me, but it does concern you. It concerns us all because of the way it tears at our lives and because it's aimed at destroying the brightness and life of the sons and daughters of the United States. For 5 years, I've been traveling across the country, learning and listening, and one of the most hopeful signs I've seen is the building of an essential new awareness of how terrible and threatening drug abuse is to our society. This was one of the main purposes when I started, so of course it makes me happy that that's been accomplished. But each time I meet with someone new or receive another letter from a troubled person on drugs, I yearn to find a way to help share the message that cries out from them. As a parent, I'm especially concerned about what drugs are doing to young mothers and their newborn children. Listen to this news account from a hospital in Florida of a child born to a mother with a cocaine habit. Nearby, a baby named Paul lies motionless in an incubator, feeding tubes riddling his tiny body. He needs a respirator to breathe and a daily spinal tap to relieve fluid buildup on his brain. Only 1 month old, he's already suffered 2 strokes. Now you can see why drug abuse concerns every one of us, all the American family. Drugs steal away so much. They take and take until finally, every time a drug goes into a child, something else is forced out, like love and hope and trust and confidence. Drugs take away the dream from every child's heart and replace it with a nightmare. And it's time we in America stand up and replace those dreams. Each of us has to put our principles and consciences on the line, whether in social settings or in the workplace, to set forth solid standards and stick to them. There's no moral middle ground. Indifference is not an option. We want you to help us create an outspoken intolerance for drug use. For the sake of our children, I implore each of you to be unyielding and inflexible in your opposition to drugs. Our young people are helping us lead the way. Not long ago in Oakland, California, I was asked by a group of children what to do if they were offered drugs. And I answered, just say no. Soon after that, those children in Oakland formed a Just Say No club. And now there are over 10,000 such clubs all over the country. Well, their participation and their courage in saying no needs our encouragement. We can help by using every opportunity to force the issue of not using drugs to the point of making others uncomfortable, even if it meaning making ourselves unpopular. Our job is never easy because drug criminals are ingenious. They work every day to plot a new and better way to steal our children's lives, just as they've done by developing this new drug, crack. For every door that we close, they open a new door to death. They prosper on our unwillingness to act. So we must be smarter and stronger and tougher than they are. It's up to us to change attitudes and just simply dry up their markets. And finally, to young people watching or listening, I have a very personal message for you. There's a big, wonderful world out there for you. It belongs to you. It's exciting and stimulating and rewarding. Don't cheat yourselves out of this promise. Our country needs you, but it needs you to be clear-eyed and clear-minded. I recently read one teenager's story. She's now determined to stay clean, but was once strung out on several drugs. What she remembered most clearly about her recovery was that during the time she was on drugs, everything appeared to her in shades of black and gray. And after her treatment, she was able to see colors again. So to my young friends out there, life can be great, but not when you can't see it. So open your eyes to life, to see it in the vivid colors that God gave us as a precious gift to his children, to enjoy life to the fullest and to make it count. Say yes to your life, and when it comes to drugs and alcohol, just say no.
Rushing and racing and